Live from the Shabby Shack, in association with Liver and Bacon Productions, it's ATW Podcast.
Shabby Shack. Liver and Bacon. Shabby Shack.
ATW Podcast.
We're live. Okay, hello. Welcome to the ATW Podcast, live from the Shabby Shack. And today we are joined by a gentleman who is 30 years in security. He's been doing some acting. He's doing more acting. But more importantly than that, right now, he's helping a local MP to solve and reduce knife crime. Marc Smith, hello.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me along.
It's an absolute pleasure. It really is. 30 years.
Yeah, 31 actually.
31. Okay. Yeah. Where was your first place you did security?
It was actually a Wetherspoons pub in Portsmouth called Wetherspoons.
Okay.
It's now changed to Sultan of Brunei or something, but
It was a Wetherspoons.
Oh, it was a Wetherspoons pub, and then the first place in Bournemouth was the Brass House. So
Nice.
95, I think that was.
How old were you?
I was 18, 19, so yeah.
When did you get your license to do security?
Well, back then it was just a local authority license.
Right.
So I got it immediately. The guy that I worked for was pretty ahead of the times, and he got us. It was £5. Lasted
£5.
for 6 months. Yeah.
So it's a very different scene.
Oh,
then.
totally different.
Yeah, they were a lot naughtier in those days, weren't they?
A lot
security.
naughtier, a lot
Yeah.
naughtier.
So did you just leave school and do security, or
When I left school, I went to college, did business studies. Didn't really know what I wanted to do.
where did you do that?
Bournemouth and Paul College.
So did I.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, do you know, I actually wanted to work for the Customs and Excise.
Okay.
Strange one, but
Very
that's what I
different.
wanted to do. And then, anyway, I went business studies because all I knew was I wanted to do something in office for a bit.
Did you do a BTEC?
I did do a BTEC.
Yeah, so
I did
did I.
MBQ and BTEC.
I did it at Lansdowne College.
That's where I was.
Yeah, it would have been around the same time as well. We're around the same age, aren't we?
That's
I think.
right, yeah.
Well, I'm 49. How old are you?
The same.
Yeah,
So I would
okay.
have seen you there.
You would have ignored me. You were too busy being cool and being hard. I was just busy trying to do dance moves all the time. That's what I was doing. So you did all that. So then you got into the boxing around the same time or prior?
Well, I like to learn boxing. I started to compete in boxing and train boxing when I was in my teens. But when I started to work on the door, I left the boxing because I was doing taekwondo and all sorts, and I left the boxing because you need to put a bit of muscle on and get bigger. Because back then, you still needed to be quite big to work on the door. It's not so much of a prerequisite now. But back
Actually,
then,
in those days, you had a lot of fatter doormen, though.
yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
And they
you
would
did.
be smoking on the door.
Oh, yeah. Well, I kind of came into it in 95 when it was starting to change. So we were the first company that wore suits, for example. Everyone else had bomber jackets.
Right,
So we were
okay.
coming into the change. So I knew the old school way.
Did you work at the venue?
I did work in the venue when I reopened the second time.
Okay.
Not the first time.
But because that was one of the first ones where they wore the suits, wasn't it?
Yeah, they did. They wore the pink jackets and that, didn't they?
There was one guy, we're moving off course a little bit, there was one guy that got really far on the Gladiators that worked at the venue.
Phil Norman.
Are you mates with him?
Yeah, a nice
know
guy.
him?
I know him. Yeah.
Yeah. Is he still doing the doors?
No, he's got his own gym now. He teaches Thai boxing.
I'll
and
never
combat.
forget it because we were we weren't supposed to be there. We were 17, but he obviously had to be over 18.
Yeah.
But I remember it being a Friday night and we're all going up on the lift and you can see this guy that's been on Saturday night TV for 5 weeks on the road.
That's right.
And he's just standing there doing his normal job. And you'd think, wow, someone to be on TV like that,
Yeah.
you wouldn't think they would need to do
exactly.
a normal job anymore.
Well, he won the series. Actually, he went to compete on the American Gladiators.
Did he really?
Yeah.
How did he do on there?
He didn't win it, but he done well. I mean,
He did well enough.
to get there.
Yeah,
He
fantastic.
still won the whole UK Gladiators. So yeah, nice guy, Phil. Nice
Yeah.
guy.
So with the boxing, because that is probably your main passion, would you say?
I'm very passionate about the boxing.
Yeah, because the thing is, one thing with you is you're not someone that likes a fight, though.
Not
So,
really.
and then that's one thing to really define
Yeah.
the difference of. So what is it? What is your? At what age did you start the passion for boxing and say, right, I really want to learn this?
To be honest, I was like many, got bullied at school, primary school.
Did you really?
Yeah, secondary school, I kind of turned it around, changed it. But
Yeah.
first primary school bullied.
What school did you go to?
St Luke's in Winton, then went to
Okay.
Winton Boys. But I remember watching in '89 the Bruno Tyson fight, and because Frank Bruno was a local hero, was a British legend.
And now a friend of yours.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I watched that and I thought, oh, this boxing's cool.
Yeah.
And of course, you think you can do it like them.
That was at something like 1 a.m, wasn't it? It was, Yeah, I remember it
So
really well.
I fell in
as well.
love with it through that, and I've always been a big fan of it. And then it kind of travelled through, and then, yeah, like you said, I got to meet Frank and become a friend of Frank. So
It's so bizarre because I had a weird opposite situation. I got sent to a school when I was 12 for kids with behavioural that were naughty children. Let's put it that way. And I haven't really had a fight since the age of 13, really, a proper fight, because every day at that school there were fights.
Yeah.
There was a lot of charisma in that school as well, because it was for kids that were generally, it was a boarding school, it was a private school, but my dad was so anti-fighting.
was he?
But I remember talking to you once on the radio and your dad being almost the opposite and saying no. And I remember my dad saying, "No, you do not hit people.
Yeah.
You do not." My dad was a criminal lawyer, and we do not do that.
Yeah.
But I actually found it fascinating when you were on the radio
Yeah.
with me, where you said, "Well, actually, my dad was telling me I had to stand up for myself."
Yeah, well, I think that if you've got those skills, the ability, the confidence, for a start, people tend to leave you alone anyway. But you need to, I believe you need to be able to stick up for yourself and stand up for yourself.
I think so too.
And I speak to so many people, and they've never had a fight in their life. I'm not saying you should go out and fight, but to know how to protect yourself, and especially now. The way society is now, you've got to know. And it doesn't mean you're going to go out and beat people up.
No,
absolutely not.
No. And
But
actually,
it's that
boxing
learning
does
that
teach.
discipline.
Yeah, boxing does teach discipline.
Yeah.
And would you? So we've had a golf coach on recently that teaches NLP. Do you know about NLP?
Yeah, I do know a bit about it.
So would you be able to bring that into the boxing game, the
Definitely.
NLP thing?
Definitely.
Do you do that? So do you think mindfulness comes into it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I for many years taught conflict management, physical resolution to the security industry. And one of the things I used to say to the guys, these door staff, I said, you've got to conduct yourself, carry yourself with confidence, posture. You can avert and detour so many problems just by the way you conduct yourself. I mean,
So
let's
almost
face it.
90% of it is the communication.
Of course it is, yeah.
Yeah.
And look, if you're, there's always someone who's looking to take advantage of someone. But what do? They target someone that looks weak and unconfident and vulnerable. So even if you look the part,
Yeah.
you're 90% there.
Yeah.
But if you know the skills as well, and I don't just think of it as myself. You got to think of your friends, your family. You could be out with anyone. I want to know that I can protect them if I need to.
Do you do personal security as well now,
Yes.
don't you?
Yes.
How's that differ from doing like doors and stuff like that? 'Cause I mean, that's two very different worlds, isn't it?
Very different. I'll be honest with you. The doors are very thankless, and what I mean is that you can save someone from getting a kick in. And
Yeah.
They don't. No one thanks you for it.
Well, they're usually quite drunk, aren't they? I suppose.
Yeah, and licensees don't really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Whereas the close protection side of life, they've come to you because there is a threat that they perceive to them. So in that situation, you say, right, okay, Mr. Jones, this is what we're going to do. If I say,
Mr. Jones.
well, if I say we're leaving, of
Yeah.
course. Could they take that seriously?
So,
And
so you're able to lead, in essence,
You have to. If
Yeah.
you're not strong enough character to say, right, I'm taking control of the situation.
and they respect
And
that.
bear in mind, you could be working with multi-millionaires.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, then you may as well not be in the job.
How long have you done that for?
I started doing it about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
You
I
know.
bet you're really good at it.
I think I am.
No, I can imagine you are, because you are good at. It's one thing being a good doorman, but there's
Yeah.
another thing being a good people person and being able to work. Because I suppose you're going to be meeting all sorts of contacts when you're in that world, aren't you?
All sorts of contacts. You've got to be able to think on your feet. You've got to
Yeah.
strategize. You've got to think ahead. Everyone's different. You've got to think that a client at midday could be in a high-powered business meeting. They might go for a few drinks after. Their attitude changes. The
Okay.
people they're around changes.
Yeah.
Suddenly they want to deviate from the script. Suddenly we don't want to go in that car. Now I want to go in that car. I want to go to this place, which isn't safe. And you've got to think about exit strategies, because my job is to get them out. Whereas
Yeah.
with the pubs and clubs, it's to get the trouble out. With close protection, it's to distract the client to keep them safe.
Okay, let's change it up a little bit. So you've been doing some acting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't realise you were actually in Pirates of the Caribbean, weren't you?
Not Pirates of the Caribbean.
Were you not? What was
no.
I didn't believe the picture when I first saw it. I got shown it.
I mean, the picture's real.
Yeah, I didn't believe it. I thought it was someone that looked like you, and that someone just took the picture
no,
and put
me.
it up and
It's
said,
me.
"Hey, look, Mark, it's you." Where were you?
That was in Cornwall, a place called Charleston.
Cool. I thought it was the Bahamas.
I should have played on that, shouldn't
Yeah,
I? But I'm an
yeah.
honest man.
Yeah.
It's it's a series that's been that's going to go to Netflix called Night Riders,
Oh, okay.
and it's the barbaric Moroccan pirates back in the day. So yeah.
So it's not Pirates of the Caribbean,
not
but it's a
Pirates of
similar
the Caribbean.
vibe.
Very similar. Very
Yeah.
similar. It was exciting.
Have you got lines?
Yeah, there's some lines in it.
That's
and
amazing.
Basically, what's going to happen is if it gets taken and Netflix put money into it, it'll become a series.
Okay.
So then, hopefully,
Who directed it?
It's a lady called Jane Sanger.
Okay. And how did you get that?
She's based in Kent. Well, how I got it is even more interesting because I many years ago did a stunt training workshop with a guy called Dave Lee. Now, Dave Lee was the man that was in the Batman costume for the Michael Keaton films.
Was he really? Okay.
So all the stunt scenes was Dave Lee.
We had an Irish stuntman here not so long ago, and he did bring up Dave Lee a few times.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
But he was very quick in his speech, so I
Yeah.
don't remember what he
So
actually said.
So Dave Lee was born in Camden Town.
Don't worry, Simon.
He was born in Camden Town. He's passed away
Yeah.
now, unfortunately. Born in Camden Town, moved to Hollywood to fulfill his dream. He was in Tango and Cash.
Was he
Stallone, Demolition
James
Man.
Bond?
No, not in James Bond. He may have been in some of them, I don't know. But anyway, I did this stunt training workshop, and I remember he always said to me afterwards, he said, you know, if you keep working at it, you can get into something. He said, who's your dream to work with? I said, I'd love to work with Arnold Schwarzenegger or Lou Ferrigno, the Incredible Hulk. They're my era, the action heroes.
Are they your heroes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love them. And this is how manifestation works, right? So I kept working at it, and then we got a phone call from a guy called Joe, who was he had a martial arts gym in Bristol somewhere, and he said, I've got a director wants to put a movie together. We were on this stunt workshop together. He said, would you be interested? I said, yeah, of course. No hesitation. I said, I'll do it. I said, what am I doing? He said, we just be an extra. He said, might have to have a fight scene. I said, put me down. So anyway, we had to go to Bristol. I had no idea what it was going to be. It was unpaid. Got to Bristol. The director comes up to me. He said, what part are you playing? I said, I'm just an extra. He said, okay, you're going to be a bodyguard. I went, yeah, cool. He said,
Upgraded.
Yeah. He said, what do you know about that? I said, I do it for a living, so I'm all right with that. I said, who's in the film? I don't know anything about it. He said, well, you'll be the baddie. You're the bodyguard for the baddie, and the people that you're against is a guy called Lou Ferrigno. Have you ever heard of him? I went, Lou Ferrigno?
I love that.
The Incredible Hulk? And he went, yeah. So, mate, it was incredible. I worked on this film. It's called Instant Death.
How long were you on it for?
We were there for 3 days, but I've got like 15 seconds on it.
Yeah,
but
doesn't
mate,
matter.
but the beauty was it was there all day with Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah.
And at the end of the filming, because he was here for a few extra days, it just so happened that in Bournemouth we had a Comic-Con at the BAC. Me and my friend, we ran Comic-Con, so we've got Lou Ferrigno here. Would you put him on Comic-Con? He said, well, we want to speak to him direct because we don't know who you are.
Yeah,
so
they probably didn't believe it.
We
You don't
passed
get-
the phone to him. He goes, this is Lou Ferrigno. Do you want me there or not? Yes, we want you there. So we brought him down. So we basically spent a whole week with the guy. Dream come true for me.
And was he a nice guy?
He was a lovely guy.
That's nice to know.
Yeah.
It is nice to know.
He's really nice
I
guy.
love the film Pumping Iron. You obviously do
Oh,
too.
brilliant. See, this
Yeah.
is it. This is what I grew up watching.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
And is he friends with Arnie now?
they have a lot of respect. I mean,
Yeah.
they'll never be close. And I think the thing with that is that Lou Ferrigno, Arnold always, whether he admits it, he's kind of jealous because Lou Ferrigno is in great shape now. He was 6'5". Arnold
Is he still in great shape?
Yeah, Arnold undoubtedly the greatest bodybuilder of all time. But as he's got older, Lou's still there.
The politics thing didn't help, did it? I don't think.
No,
I think that really pushed him off track.
it did.
Yeah.
But when they stand together, Lou outshines Arnold. Even though Arnold was the best in
I
his
think
time.
even Sly does.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
Really?
let's try again.
Yeah, because because he really kept at it the whole time, didn't he?
Yeah,
Are you a fan of him?
Yeah, I like Sloane. Yeah, I've met
Yeah.
Sloane actually.
Have you? Yeah, so have I.
Yeah, and a good.
Yeah,
Lot
twice.
smaller than I expect him to
What's
be.
that?
Smaller than I expect him to be.
A lot of people are.
They are.
To be
That's
honest
very
with
true.
you.
That's
Yeah,
very true.
look, I've got a lot of stories where I've met these types that you
Yeah.
think are going to be larger than life, and you. Where's the real one?
That's right.
Where's
That's
he?
right.
Tom
That's
Cruise.
right.
He's so tiny. I was in
yeah.
War of the Worlds, and you blink and you'll miss me. But I remember
we
just
go.
where Tom Cruise is like shouting at me lines. He's shouting
Yeah.
at a load of us, and he's just this tiny little man, and you don't really believe it's the real
Yeah.
Tom Cruise. You know.
What did you say? Show me the money.
Yeah, I was just knocking on the window. Give me a lift.
I love
He
that
was in his
film.
car. It was
Show
in the
me
middle
the
of nowhere,
money!
yeah. That would
Do
be
you know what
really
about?
bad. Could you imagine if you did actually do that in War of the Worlds? One of the extras shouts that out. Show me the money. Rob Mooney, you idiots.
money!
Do you know how to make a red-eyed Mr. Flanagan? That would be my favourite.
Brilliant film.
Anyway, what is your favourite film? Have you got one?
Ooh.
What, if you've got one last film to watch.
It would be an Arnold film, probably Commando or something like that.
See,
or,
mine would be Twins
amazing. But yeah,
or Kindergarten Cop.
they're right up there.
Yeah, they are,
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
is, and that's what Arnie did.
Who is your
that they
daddy?
didn't.
What does he do?
Yeah. But that's what Arnie did that the others didn't do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also Arnie did have the humility to know that he wasn't funny enough to do it himself. He always
right.
made sure
That's right.
he was surrounded by great people. I'd say that is Arnie's big forte, is
agree.
knowing that he isn't everything and that
Absolutely.
he needs the help.
He can laugh
Of
at
the
himself
Kennedys.
as well. Yeah. No, I mean he's incredible. I'm not, to be the biggest action movie star of his time, to be the governor of Canada, the greatest bodybuilder of all time. I mean, he's just phenomenal.
Have
man.
you seen the Netflix special on him? I presume.
Yeah,
you did. Yeah.
brilliant.
He was all about the manifestation, wasn't he?
he was.
Massively. It was. But did he actually use those words?
Which words?
The manifestation words. I'm not sure he
I'm
did.
not sure.
But it was just the fact that he had all the posters up and said where he wants to be when he's in Austria, and there was just nothing realistic to show that he's going to end up in Hollywood.
No.
Even down to when he started getting a break, he was over in South Africa first.
That's right, Pretoria.
But
That's
it's amazing the mindset thing, isn't it?
right. His first Mr. Universe, he won in London. He lived in London for a bit.
He did, didn't he? Yeah. Yeah, then they made him lose weight when they got to Los Angeles.
That's right.
So I'm going to get a bit serious here for a second. So you've been currently working alongside, with our local MP,
Yeah.
Jessica Toll, great girl.
Yeah.
And
Great lady.
I wouldn't say I was necessarily Labour or Tory or Green or whatever, but I think locally she's doing a good job. And actually the guy in Poole, I don't know whether you've met him, Neil Duncan Jordan.
No.
Fantastic as well. Both doing really, really good jobs. But are you massively into politics?
I'm not massively into politics. I'll be honest, I don't really have much faith in politicians.
Right.
However,
So how did this come about then?
well, this is... I totally buy into Jessica.
Yeah.
I
And
think
it's not just because she's pretty and attractive.
I think that she is exactly what politics should be about.
I'd be lying if I said that didn't have a slight helping out with me at the beginning.
No,
No, it's true. But then I actually got to know, and I loved what she was all about. Yeah.
I think what she does is she genuinely does it for the people. She's
Yeah.
out there. I see her walking around. She visits all these little businesses. The guy before her, I remember, it was just a waste of time. Well, most of them are a waste of time, if I'm honest.
Well,
but-
they see what won me over with Jessica was we were sat there having coffee, and she said, and the problem I had with the previous people that were in charge, they said I didn't see anything, so I don't think it's happening.
Exactly.
Well, a lot of them went to bed at 8:00 at night.
Absolutely.
And she said to me, well, that's the big mistake people make. Just because you don't see something
Exactly.
doesn't mean it's not happening. Now,
Exactly.
you working a lot of nights and me also working nights, we've seen some stuff that I'd like, if I ever have kids, I'd definitely not like my mother or father to see. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
And we've seen a lot of stuff kind of deteriorate locally as well. When Bournemouth used to be like Mallorca, and now it's the knife crime is quite bad. But you're working with a lot of these young kids that
Yeah, I mean that's how the link with Jessica came. Basically,
Yeah.
she contacted. I'd had a article in the newspaper about some stuff that I was doing with youth boxing training sessions.
right.
She reached out to me. I spoke to her, and she asked me if I had to come along to a community talk. And first time I met her, I thought, yeah, brilliant.
So she reached out to you.
Yeah, she reached
Okay.
out, and I said, yeah, I'll come along. It was somewhere in Kints, and I think it was about 80 people there. But we talked about knife crime, talked about the nighttime economy, all of things that, like yourself, we've experienced, we know. And I really got behind what she was saying. I believed that she was being genuine. I do to this day.
Yeah, that's the bit that I got.
Genuine.
She genuinely did care.
Yeah, she cares.
And I'm really glad you. I could see you running for council.
Wow.
We've talked about this.
Yeah, you know, I was walking through town. You know, I work in Bournemouth Town Centre some days. There's a client that I have there, and sometimes I walk through the gardens in the morning, and I just think, what could I do to make a difference in this town? I don't know what the answer is yet. I know I'm doing the knife kind of stuff, but
That's the one, I think.
I just look at it and I think, what is there to do? And then I don't know. But yeah, one day maybe. One day. I want to do something. We've got such a beautiful town though, and you know, all I hear is negativity about it. And I understand why, because they only see what they see in the news. But then you walk through it, you speak to the nice people, and you realise we have got a beautiful town. It was beautiful. But how do we get it back there? And that's why I think people like Jessica are great, because they're doing their bit.
Yeah, I mean, look.
I mean,
if you want to do the best for the town, that doesn't always necessarily mean becoming a councillor.
well,
Actually,
this is
doing
what I'm
what
saying.
you're doing is
That's what I'm
is
saying.
really, really vital. Have you seen much change with the kids?
Massively.
Yeah.
So we started the Henry Brown youth boxing sessions in collaboration with a lady called Tracy of Changes Have Made charity. Her grandson unfortunately was killed, knife crime, year before.
Okay.
But we brought the kids in, gave them something to do on an evening, Wednesday evening, Monday evening, and the idea was, this is in West Howe, get them in. If they like the boxing, it's not just about boxing, it's life skills as well. Like, for example,
And having mentorship.
So like, if they
Yeah.
come in and they start swearing and say, hey, this isn't the place for that.
Really, and you do that, do you?
Yeah,
You
do
go
that.
stop it.
Yeah, do
Yeah.
that. I've got a guy who came along, troubled life, of a nice kid, but he's now starting his coaching journey. So to me, that's a dream come true. We're getting 30 to 35 kids come through there on a Wednesday night.
That's brilliant.
And 35 kids that are not out on the street doing nothing or causing problems.
And back in the day, there was a lot of youth clubs, weren't there?
Yeah, there's none anymore.
Scouts, and is that all still going? Scouts.
I don't know, mate.
Is it still
There's
going,
nothing.
Steve? Is the Scouts still going? It is.
A few about, yeah.
Yeah, but it's nothing like it was. Were you a scout or anything like that?
I was at the Boys Brigade for a short while.
Boys Brigade.
But,
Similar thing though. Same thing.
Yeah, same sort of
structure,
thing.
bit of structure,
Yeah.
so forth. So I had a situation a couple of New Year's Eves ago, and it's quite an embarrassing story, but it's only to enhance what you're doing is so important. So I was coming back from actual Camel Bar on New Year's Eve, and
What time was that?
okay,
That's a story in itself, wasn't it?
well, okay,
Getting light, the seagulls are out.
I'd done a gig in Southbourne first. That finished, and then I went on to play at Camel Bar. And by the time it was finished, I was walking back, and it was like 6 or 7 in the morning or something like that. Yeah, and there were 5 lads, 5 maybe 7. I'll build it up. It was 7. It was 7. But there was 30 of them.
You know where this is going? It's that fires and fights on the couples thing.
No, but not
Alan's
really.
joining the club.
No.
All right, 17 lads.
No, I'll be honest. It was about 5 lads, and they were all about 13. This is the bit that's embarrassing.
Okay.
Is that what like they yelled something, and of course I've got a Guinness in my hand, and I think I've also got a Jack Daniels in the other hand, and it's not. And I'm just like, "Good morning, Happy New Year," and they're going, "What?" And this little kid runs to me, and he's probably coming at me, and I was like, he was tiny, and I went, "What are you doing?" I was too jolly to be aggressive back, and then also he was about 13. I said, "What are you doing?" And he actually went, "I don't know." He said, "I don't know." He looked completely lost. He was a very sweet little kid, really. But then from nowhere, a guy in the back who was the bigger one, and I would say it's probably about 6 or 7 of them, but one in the back who was much bigger and the dominant force in essence went, "What are you doing? Stop being nice."
This is it.
And then he comes over and goes, "What's that then?" And I went, "Oh, these are Guinnesses." I went, "Do you want one?" I mean, they're 13. And then they threw my Guinnesses in the middle of the street, which really was very annoying. But then they had broken bottles and they were properly coming at me. And I didn't know what else to do except run like a girl. I'll be honest. I was so bad. But you know how you never forget a face?
Yeah.
That little kid. Last year, I suddenly see in the Echo that same... He was 15 last year, so this was 2 years ago. So it actually fitted perfectly. That kid's gone to jail and been done for murder. And you think... He was actually a sweet little kid, but he was completely being wrong-led.
Peer pressure.
Yeah.
That's it.
But with your thing that you're doing...
Well, this is it. And this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get them while they're young and explain to them that you don't need to be part of gangs. You don't need to be part of that stuff. They know, and the problem is that the parents that are trying to be proactive, they're scared to let their kids out now. So then you've got the counteraction. They're keeping them in, and they're just staying online all night. So it's a devil in a hard place.
You're right.
It's
So it's either one or the other, isn't it?
So the kids that, like when we were kids, I'd come home, change, get my BMX, go out and play, come home 3 or 4 hours later. You don't see that anymore. The ones that are now playing in the parks are normally not
Doing
nice
something,
kids.
yeah, and doing
because
something.
the good ones, the parents don't want to let them out, and I can understand that.
I did see some kids in the park the other day, but they were with adults as well, and they were swinging. They had a death slide.
Yeah.
And I thought, I haven't seen one of those
Yeah, right.
for about 30 years.
Yeah.
And I thought, it'd be a bit inappropriate if I asked to have a go.
Yeah. Just a bit. Yeah, I think so.
Can I have a go? I thought, nah, don't
Especially
do it.
if you threw them off.
Get off! No, they were with adults, but I just thought it was quite nice to see them doing something active rather than, like you said, either doing that or doing that. But you don't really even see the BMX thing, do you?
You don't see it.
Yeah,
You don't see it.
Strange. And I think that all comes down to, and it's community, isn't it?
It is.
And that's one thing a gang provides.
Exactly.
Negative, but it is still
Exactly.
community.
And then,
isn't it?
unfortunately, not going too deep into it, but then drugs come into it, and once they've got drugs into it, then they're obliged to be part of the gang because they always owe, and it's just it's a horrible situation.
And I suppose that once you're part of it, you can't just break out of it and say,
Can't
actually,
get
I'm
out.
going to go BMXing tomorrow instead.
Can't get out, mate. They don't let you get out. That's
They
it.
don't.
They don't let you get out. So this is the thing with the mentoring that I started doing a couple of years ago. I realised more than ever, you know, how hard it was. More challenging than I thought. It's tough for these kids, tough for the parents. But what I would say is, a lot of parents don't know what their kids are doing.
Yeah.
They need to take that. You know that program that was on recently, that Adolescence. Did you see that?
I couldn't watch it.
Well, it's a phenomenally powerful.
I've watched
series.
the trailer a few times, and I'm just like, yeah.
I mean, it's shocking.
I can't watch that right now.
It's shocking,
Yeah.
but it is the reality of what's going on out there.
Yeah.
Parents think they know what their kids do, but they don't. They don't know who they're out with. They don't know who they're chatting to online, and it's a very scary place. And I urge that to parents. So you've got to know what your kids are doing.
Yeah, they don't know what they're doing online, and they
No.
don't know what they're doing when they're out.
Exactly.
We were
that.
pretty basic when we were younger.
We
weren't
were.
It was
We
like,
were.
what's he doing? Well, he's out skateboarding.
That's it.
It's like,
Get into a fight,
he's
whatever, and then you come home.
you're 20 minutes late. You're
Yeah,
grounded.
that's it.
Oh, no top of the pops
Come
for
home,
you.
have your dinner, and off out again. But now it is scary out there, and so I believe that no one person can do everything, but the more you do, you hope that those kids, even if you change a couple of their lives, and then they have an effect on others, and that's
Have you had the situation where, like, they might be a part of a gang, and the gang aren't letting them come to your situation, so they might be standing outside waiting for them or anything
So
like
I very recently had a situation where I turned up at a venue to do a class,
Yeah.
and someone said to me, there is someone bullying a kid outside. We rushed out and saw a kid bullying another kid. This person was literally getting them to kneel and beg, and
Really?
yeah, and they were kicking them and hitting them, whatever. A
Wow.
few weeks later, the kid that was doing it
Yeah.
came to our class, and I'll be honest to you. I said, I didn't know at first, and I said to the guy, I said, we don't want them in. And then I thought, hold on,
Yeah.
this is the opportunity to welcome them in
100%.
and charm them, or get them in, see if we can turn them around. And for obvious reasons, I won't mention the names of the venue, but that kid is now like a model citizen in our group,
Yeah.
and they have a lot of clout.
How old is he then?
It's a
roughly?
girl, actually.
It's a girl?
Yeah, 14. She has
Making another girl bow to her.
yeah, and she has a massive amount of weight in her field. So if she starts to go back to school and says these things are bad,
Yeah.
she influences a lot of people.
So she's a leader.
She's a
you could
leader.
say. Yeah.
Unfortunately, she's leading in a bad way. But what we're doing is
Well, she was.
she was.
Okay.
She's
So
changing.
what?
So that's amazing.
What about the kid that was kneeling? Did they come in as well?
They did.
They did.
They did.
And did they make a truce? Was there? Did you make them make it?
I did. I
Yeah.
didn't make them, but I engineered it.
That's brilliant.
It was an incredibly powerful moment.
Now, does Jessica know about all this sort of stuff?
Jessica knows a lot about it. Yeah, we did last week. We did like an awards ceremony at one of the places that Henry Brown, for example. Jessica couldn't make it, but we had some counsellors there, and Jessica's aware of it all. Yeah, and
Mark, I think
we
that's
keep her-
fantastic.
Yeah, we
Honestly,
always keep
it's
her up
really
to
good.
date, and
That's really, really good.
like I say, she's a big supporter of it. So
No. Well, that was our opening conversation. Was that this needs to change? Things need to change. I don't know what to do about it. And then suddenly, a year later, I notice you're actually online with her, and I'm like, okay, this is
right.
good. That's the perfect person to be helping. So, moving away from that completely now, Jefferson King.
yes,
Yeah. No, this isn't the first person you've done the Q&As with.
no, done
'Cause,
quite a few actually.
Obviously, you've done like Frank Bruno's one of your.
Yeah, some Frank Bruno, Nigel Benn, Tim Witherspoon, a variety of different people.
You're a good communicator. Why don't you do the Q&As?
Do you know what? I nearly did on the last one, and I've
What
actually
with Jefferson?
yeah.
Who was Shadow from Gladiators?
Yeah, and I've actually already thought to myself that, you know, as we move forward, I might give it a go.
If,
Well, I will give it a
I'm
go.
not available.
If you're not available, of course.
That's what you were
If
thinking.
you're too
wasn't it?
busy at local nightclubs.
I wasn't the
Charm
night
stuff.
of your last one. I was so jealous.
Charm
I was
to take
watching it online.
Saxo?
I was so envious of the last one. I was like, I want to be there. I want to even just be there, let alone host it.
There's going to be more. There's going to be more.
No, hopefully we will work together. And you heard that
we will.
first, ladies and gentlemen.
We
Yeah,
will.
very, very nice indeed. How did you get involved with Jefferson King?
So Jefferson King. So a bit like the Frank Bruno stuff. I was a huge fan of Gladiators, and to me, Shadow, or Jeff, now as I know him, was the most iconic of that series, the first series. And last year,
Would you say so? Yeah, I mean Shadow. Yeah, no one doesn't remember Shadow, even
no,
if you didn't
I mean,
watch
he was
it.
he was a
Even if you-
beast. You know, he was smashing people off that poodle
Yeah.
stick, and you know, you had characters like Wolf and that, which were very entertaining. But Shadow was the one I wanted to watch. He was the one that was going to be, you know.
It was must-see television, wasn't it?
It was amazing, wasn't it? I mean, you had 4 channels then, didn't we?
Yeah,
So-
no. Well, you had Sky, but you
Yeah.
had to
And you-
bought Sky.
Yeah, but then it was
Yeah.
a family event. It's like you had to be there at 5:45 on a Saturday afternoon to watch it. You couldn't do a catch-up a couple of days later and stuff like that.
No, a bit like X Factor, really. It was like probably just. It
Yeah.
was before X Factor, wasn't it?
That's
But
right,
it
yeah,
was
that's right.
probably X Factor was probably the last one that the family had to
Yeah.
that could watch together. But now everything is catch up. Everything is catch up.
Yeah.
Even do you like the new Gladiators?
I think they're good. I mean, they're not the same as the originals.
Yeah.
But they're good. I think this series is the nearest to the originals. We went through a few stages where they did we talked about earlier about Atlas and stuff. They did some in previous years, which I thought were not very good. But this one is the closest to the original series. But how it started with Jefferson was that before Christmas I saw this advert for a Comic-Con in London, and it was Shadow and Saracen. There was others as well. I'd met Saracen a few times. He'd come to a couple of special events that I'd been at. But Shadow I'd never met, and I thought, I want to meet this guy. So we went up there with a couple of friends of mine. It was in London. It took 3 hours to get there. And I walked in. I said to my friend Dale, I said, right, this is the truth. I'm a straight talker. I said, what are we expecting? If we get there and he's an arsehole, we've wasted our time. But if he's what we think he is, and he's a nice guy, then brilliant. I want to bring him to Bournemouth. So we had a chat. My friend Dale was into his NFL, and Jeff was trying out for NFL years ago. And I thought, this guy is interested. He's engaged. I thought, you know, I'd like to think I'm a good judge. I liked him.
Yeah.
And I said to him straight away, I want to do an event. I want to bring you to Bournemouth. And he was talking to me. He says things like, you know, I want to get a bit of security work. And, you know, I thought...
He wanted to get security
Yeah,
work.
and I thought, this guy, you know, he's on
was
his arse.
Shadow in
Yeah.
Gladiators.
And then I started to understand the story. He's on his arse. He's just doing PTs and stuff. And I thought, this guy deserves more than this.
Yeah.
You know, yes, he's done some bad stuff. He's had a bad time. But he's out. He's cleaned
he
his
did
life
jail
up.
time, didn't he? I
He
think?
did, yeah.
What was it for?
There was a few things. There was like petty theft and stuff. And then He got involved with a kidnap. There's a lot to it.
That's back to what we were just talking about. Everyone wants that story, don't they?
Yeah,
the
yeah.
kidnap story,
But you know, he went to prison through COVID. He had a major drug problem. Went through COVID, and he said that was the best thing he could have done. He said, I would have paid to be checked in because it got me clean.
Right.
And now he's rebuilding his life. He's been clean now for 5 years. Because as soon as he went in there,
so fascinating.
He'd come off the drugs.
Those gladiators at the time, they were pop stars, weren't they?
Huge.
Like they were.
Huge.
I mean, they were in smash hits.
Yeah,
front cover
everywhere.
of smash hits. Who was it? Who were the other ones we've talked? Who's the one that went out with Eureka Johnson?
Hunter. James Crossley, his name is.
James Crossley. Do you know him?
I don't know him. I've spoken to him a few times, and hopefully we're going to get him involved with some of our events.
How's he doing now?
I think he does very well. He
Right.
does. Do you remember the hand pipe? Ding 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 ding. Hand pans. You ever heard of them? No. Yeah, you're in the music industry.
Well,
They're like gongs, but they're
that was
pans.
the most musical I've ever seen you, Marc Smith. Honestly, that was...
He does that. But he's in great shape, still in his fitness.
Really,
he's got a big media presence. Yeah, I think he does very well. And some of them do.
So it's weird. You wouldn't think, if you look back then, you wouldn't say, "Oh, he's the one that's going to fall off the rails," or "He's the one that's going to," you know.
But you see, because he was such a big, intimidating guy, he would get pulled in for bad stuff like protection rackets and stuff like that.
Really?
And gangsters wanted to use him because he looked the part.
They didn't make a fortune, did they, the Gladiators?
No, I don't think.
For the numbers that it was. I think there was something like up to 19 million an episode. And it was
crazy numbers.
Crazy numbers. Yeah. And it's like, that's like you...
Yeah.
For those sorts of numbers...
Yeah.
500 quid is...
Crazy, isn't
it? And it's once a week.
Yeah.
And the season is for 10 weeks in the year.
I think 8 weeks,
something like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, to live the big lifestyle from that is very hard. But I'd love to meet him. And, hopefully
he's
next
coming
time.
to Bournemouth on the 1st of May.
Okay.
I'm actually bringing him down to do some PT training with like fans and stuff.
1st of May.
And then we're going to do like a little evening.
Is he staying over?
He probably will, and we're going to do like a dinner in the evening and stuff. So.
Right.
But he's a super cool guy. I'll invite.
Really
Well, you just said you invite. He'll want it for free, but.
Hey, last question.
Yes.
What is your favourite? I know you're a fitness man. How often do you train? Last two questions.
To me, I pretty much train every day.
Yeah.
I do something, whether it's gym or running or something.
You like your running now?
Yeah, I like my running.
You never used to be that into it. I know you've always been into your lifting, didn't you?
No, I wasn't into running. No, but I started it a while back.
Did you run today?
I've not run today because I've been busy today. I will run tomorrow.
I only did 2.5 miles today, but I did it. We did it. That's all. Right. It's not much.
We probably started running about the same time, really.
Yeah, I love running. I'm just incredibly slow, but I don't care.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you are as well.
I'm not. Well, no, I'm not slow.
You did a half marathon last year, didn't you?
I did.
What
Loved
was your time?
Oh, I can't remember. I did well. I'm impressed myself.
Did you?
I can't remember what it was.
It's always good to impress yourself.
Hard going.
Isn't it?
Well, no one else was impressed, so...
Did you have a cheat day
I put my own
afterwards?
medal on and everything. I took it off and put it back on again.
Did you have a cheat day afterwards?
Yeah, big time.
Did you? What did you do? Where did you go?
Mint choc ice cream, chicken and blues, all the lot.
Yeah.
All my favourites.
Yeah,
chicken and blues. Get a shout
out. Big shout out.
Love a chicken and blues.
Is it Josh and Steve?
Josh and Steve, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Good guys.
And Steve's dad owns Hope FM, which I'm on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
His name's Blair.
Didn't know that.
Great guy. Absolutely great guy.
I like that.
And your favourite fast food is?
Chicken and blues.
There you
100%.
go.
We're actually bringing... So funny you say that.
Oh, go on.
Jeff, when we bring him down, we're taking him to Chicken and Blues.
Wow. Parties at the Chicken and Blues.
You think that was pre-planned, wouldn't you?
Anyway, welcome to this episode of ATW Podcast, sponsored by Chicken and Blues.
Hey!
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Round of applause for Marc Smith. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.